reason I'm kind of being general is I don't want to uniquely identify this firm, because it's a board decision if we decide to move down this path. But the drainage improvement plan, essentially what it'll do is it'll take the 36 square miles of the town of Boston, and they will come in and do an engineering assessment and identify what our needs are. And this isn't you as a resident contacting the supervisor's office or the highway superintendent or one of our board members saying, I've got water in my backyard, my basement's flooded, or my drainage ditches are working properly. This is a total comprehensive plan. So from 18 Mile Creek up is essentially how it would work if you can vision that. For 2 hills in the valley, 18 Mile Creek, that is right down the center. And they will build, and there will be a proposed plan that will support that infrastructure and handle the drainage properly. It will not happen overnight. I've told anybody that's invited me out to their house to take a look at their drainage issues this year. I've said the same thing. My message remains the same. It will not happen overnight. Will it cost money? Absolutely. But the reality is, we all turn on the evening news. We do see when. Just east of us, Finger Lakes area, out towards Utica, Rome, Albany, the floodings at our doorstep. Again, 2 hills in the valley, it's just a matter of time. We've all seen the flooding, it's just a matter of time, sadly, it's going to be a matter of time before these storms are at our doorstep. So this will be a proactive measure as much as it possibly can be at this point in time to at least have a plan going forward on how to fix infrastructure and take care of some of our drainage issues. And that's all I have. That being said, I will make a motion to open up the floor regarding the 2019 preliminary budget.
I'll second that.
Councilman Walker?
Yes.
Councilman Keating?
Yes.
Supervisor Keating?
Yes.
Councilwoman Lukaczyk? Yes. Councilwoman Martin?
Yes. Good evening. My name is Beverly Kent. I live at 7255 Lower East Hill Road. A couple questions I have about the budget. First of all, I'd like some more information about the increase in workload in the town clerk's office that would necessitate a full-time deputy town clerk.
Well,
Excuse me, I'd like the town clerk to answer that. She was an elected official,
Sure.
so I would like her to answer that.
The deputy position was part-time. In the 2018 budget, the town board voted that position would be increased to full-time. So it's not another additional full-time deputy.
Right.
It is
Correct.
one full-time deputy.
Okay, currently it's a part-time position though, correct? Is she working in the capacity of part-time at this time?
No, full-time. That was in February, I believe, of 2018, the town board voted to make that a full-time position.
Okay, so since that time, she's been working full-time?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah.
Okay, let me first also begin by letting everyone know that I worked for the federal government for 36 years. The past 10 years, from 28 to 2018, the federal government pay raise average was 1.2%. From 2011 to 2014, federal government employees had no pay raise. And in 2019, the proposed pay raise is 1.5%. That is for everyone. That would mean from the district directors all the way down to the clerks or the secretaries. There is no differentiation. I also want to get some clarification or maybe some understanding, because it's not clear in the budget, about the stipends that personnel receive in the town. So let's talk about those. Full-time employees in the town
Mrs.
are-
Kent, just so you know, you've got about 45 seconds left.
I only have 3 minutes for town budget.
I don't believe there's any kind of.
Oh, no, not on the town budget. No, no. No, not on the town budget.
Okay, that's fine.
Because out of how many minutes did we listen to your presentation, Supervisor Keating? So I think you should afford everyone the opportunity here to ask questions about this town budget.
Okay.
Okay, let's talk about the stipends. For full-time employees are given the opportunity or eligible for health insurance. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. If a full-time employee declines health insurance, it is my understanding that full-time employee receives a stipend.
Correct.
What is that stipend?
$1,200 or?
What is that stipend? $2,500. Yes, that's correct. Okay, as a budget officer, what is the stipend for the budget officer?
$3,500.
$3,500. $2,500, $3,500 is $6,000. Let's everyone keep that in mind. What is the stipend for the deputy town supervisor?
$1,000.
$1,000. Okay.
And that's actually a salary.
Okay. I also want to remind the councilwomen and the councilmen that you were not hired or appointed by the supervisor. You were elected by the town of Boston residents. Therefore, you should vote on a budget that represents the needs and the wants of the residents. The supervisor and town board members have proposed to increase the supervisor's salary by 117%, which is fiscally irresponsible and absurd. The proposed budget lists the supervisor's tentative 2019 salary is $63,708. Full-time employees are eligible for benefits, including retirement benefits and including health insurance. So, if the supervisor declines to take the health insurance, let's add $2,500 to the $63,708. When we do that, we're up to $66,208. The stipend for the budget officer was $3,500. Let's add that. But I thought it was $3,000, so I'm going to stick to the $3,000 because I've done that calculation. So now we've increased that salary to $69,208. That's how I come up with the 117% increase in salary. The supervisor was elected to a part-time position. The Bureau of Labor Statistics, and I'm assuming the increase is due to the fact that perhaps the position is going to be changed from part-time to full-time. The Bureau of Labor Statistics defines part-time status as working an average between 1 and 34 hours a week. Most often, part-time is defined working less than 30 hours per week. Therefore, the supervisor was elected to work at least 29 hours a week. If the proposed 2019 budget is passed, the residents of the town of Boston will pay the supervisor an additional $31,854 to work an additional 11 hours each week in 2019. The supervisor has a full-time assistant and a full-time bookkeeper who is very competent and experienced because she formerly worked for Drescher and Malecki. He also has a deputy town supervisor. Therefore, he can easily complete his work as a part-time employee in 29 hours per week, which is the generally accepted part-time employment, or in the 34 hours per week as defined by BLS. All of you sitting up there represent or have an association with the Grand Old Party. Posted on their website, one of the Grand Old Party conservative principles is, leaders should serve the people, not special interests, and certainly not the interest of an elected official. Therefore, I am going to remind the councilwomen and the councilmen once again, you were not hired or appointed by the supervisor. You were elected by the town of Boston residents. Therefore, your decision to approve or disapprove this budget must represent the needs and the wants of the residents and not the want of an increase in salary by the supervisor. Do not approve the 117% increase in the supervisor's salary. And do not approve changing the employment status of the supervisor from part-time to full-time. If the supervisor wants or needs an annual income of $69,000, then perhaps he should search for another part-time employment or resign and seek full-time employment. Creating a full-time position in the town of Boston is not an option. And there are other towns that are similar to our town. Town of Concord may be one, with the same, close to the same population, and that supervisor is part-time, and that salary is close to what the current salary is. Thank you for the additional time.
Richard Hawkins, 6892 Pin Oak Drive. I've been a resident out here for quite a few years. I sat where you all sat, supervisor included. Just to begin my speech, I disagreed quite a bit with Bob when he first, a few years ago. But when I was a supervisor, I would say probably 3/4 of Bob's winter budget was spent on Umbellius and those hills. Plus those Oshkoshes cost a lot of money. And they were beat up big time on doing those hills. Bob went to Erie County and tried to get more money to do those roads. I know, I was there. And the simple fact is, they couldn't come to an agreement, and Bob said, I'm not doing these roads anymore because of that reason, because the county refused to give him more money. Okay, so I don't want to put all the blame on Bob Telak for not having the county out here doing it, because I believe it was a mutual thing that Bob was trying to look out for the town to get more money to do those roads, and the county didn't want to pay any money, because whether you believe it or not, it all comes down to the money aspect. I love this town, and that's why I serve this town. I believe, and I was the supervisor, I believe most of our small communities that are Class Bs in a Class B town is under 10,000 people. I don't think there's any Class B town that's under 10,000 people that have a full-time supervisor. I don't think this town needs a full-time supervisor. And I believe, Jason, when you and I talked, and correct me if I'm wrong, you told me the reason that you were going to ask for a raise is because you were going to get rid of the clerk that was in there, combine her salary with yours and stuff, and that was part of the increase that you were going to take. And I've told you a million times, buddy, you were a supervisor. Your main responsibility, which is every one of you up there, is to take care of the financial responsibilities of this town. We just had an audit done. We just reported that there were $1.5 million or whatever in the hole that we can't find out. Tell me where it is. You're elected supervisors, you've done audits. Where's that $1.5 million? Because when I left office, we had a surplus in probably one of the better towns, smaller towns in Erie County that was not in a financial problem. And we wouldn't be having to go to the board to figure out how we could come up with different things and raise taxes and worry about the garbage or anything else. But what I'm saying to you, you're one person. You can't be in that office 40 hours or 60 hours a week and go out and look at the drainage, the erosion problems, and everything else that's going into this town. And in your budget, you cut 20,000 in erosion, you cut 20,000 in drainage, okay? Those are two of the biggest problems that we have in this town. I don't know who's in front of drainage and who's in front of erosion, but I'm telling you, as a supervisor and a councilman, I walked 18 Mile Creek. I took pictures of every spot that there was a tree down or a problem that was going to cause homeowners. And that's the year Nikki Charlaff and some of these people were flooded out and almost closed. We need to maintain 18 Mile Creek. We need to get those trees out of there. We need to get the sandbars out of there. We don't need to reduce the budget for something like that to raise something else. NISAC has 5-foot culverts on their power line, the whole length of them. Who's walked those and looked at how bad they are up there? Some of them are half full. Some of them are plugged. 5 foot, you can walk right through them. You know why they put 5-foot culverts? Because they didn't think they'd ever plug. Well, when you put 5 foot at the top of the hill and 18 to 24 inches in the bottom of the valleys there, what do you think's going to happen? And they talk about a 100-year flood. Geez, seems to me we're having a 100-year flood every other year. About 3 weeks ago, if any of you know, that bridge on Patchen Road, the water came right over the top of it. Right over the top of it. Now stand on that bridge anytime that it's halfway decent and look to see how high that is. That's a long ways down. And when you have that much water coming down that creek, you've got a problem. And we should be looking at that. Thank you.
Mr. Hawk? If I can just add a couple of things. These are not argumentative, these are just fact-based. To answer your question regarding the drainage, that decision was made because if you look back, again, going back off of forecast budgeting, these are the actual numbers. 2018 budget under drainage line item A 8540. There's $40,000 in the budget. 2019, yes, it was decreased, but your actuals so far to date, there has been $0. When you're looking at the power lines, that's private property by state statute and New York State Constitution. You cannot expend taxpayer money on private property or other areas. Then you look at the actual 2017, your actual was $447 that was spent. 2016, the actual money spent, $9,820. Under erosion, which is your line item 8A is an apple, 8745. The 2018 budget was 40,000, as you stated. 2019, yes, it was lowered to 20,000. The 2018 actual was $0. 2017 actual, $0. In supporting some of what you're stating here. 2016 actual was 800. So some of these problems have existed long before. We're trying to rectify that.
I'm not saying that you're the reason that we're having these problems, because I agree 100%. These problems have been going on for years,
Agreed.
and nothing was done about it.
I don't disagree at all.
Nothing was done about it. But the bottom line is, just like you showed about the home with your taxes and evaluations, when I left office, I took it right in the pants because we did an assessment of all our homes and went to 100% assessed evaluations of our homes. What's your home assessment evaluation right now?
Right now, you're looking at 85%.
85%. So guess what? Sooner or later, you're going to have to raise the taxes. And you know what that's going to do to the residents that are sitting behind me and the rest of them? They're going to say, why? What? Because it wasn't people sitting. And I'm not saying you, because most of you just got there. But I'm saying the people that are responsible, their number one job is to take care of the finances of this community so that we don't get into a situation that we're in right now.
Agreed. I voted no for the past 2 years. I voted no on the budget because I agree 100% with what you're telling me.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening. Kathy Selby, 7194 Legal Road. I just wanted to ask you, since obviously this budget is going over the tax cap, was there a resolution?
Staying under the tax, it's not going over the tax cap. It's under the tax cap.
I don't see how that is, because just in the general fund, there's a 10% increase in the property taxes rates.
So,
So I worked on the budget for 15 years. I was the budget director, so I looked at this budget briefly and I saw,
we are under the 2% tax cap. The budget is not going up that much.
maybe you should check with Drescher and Lucky and Sylvia on that.
We have the data right here if you like it.
My other question was, how much do employees contribute towards their health insurance?
On a percentage basis?
Yes.
I don't know if Ally has that information.
It is either 2% or 15% based on when they were hired with the town. So the employees who have been with the town for, the older, employees who have been here with the town longer contribute 2%. All of the employees who are hired in the last few years contribute 15%. And for the tax cap is the whole total tax levy for this year, 2019. We're expecting $2,918,159. The tax levy limit is $2,923,574, which comes in with, we are $5,450 under the tax cap.
That's because you utilized all the carryovers from the prior years.
Utilizing
Yes.
that's part of the carryover.
Okay, we had many carryovers that were allowed that to happen. If it wasn't for the past several budgets, you never have that. So, and just taking this year alone is way over. You're looking at all the past year's savings, number one, just so you know, just so everybody knows. My other concern is that, as you know, when you increase salaries, you have to increase the benefits. Your benefit line for the state retirement is actually decreasing. So I don't think you have enough money in some of your employee benefit lines, as well as the Social Security tax. So in effect, that you will have way over these numbers. So I just want you to take a look at the benefits section, so that will increase your expenses as well. It looks like you really under budgeted those lines. I know for a fact when you have salaries, the current pension contribution is 16% of your salary is for retirement. And as you know, 7.65% is Social Security tax, so that needs to be increased as well on the Social Security line. I just don't want you to have a incorrect budget on those lines. I'm very concerned because, you know, I did this for many years, and I'm sure she does a good job, but I'm very unhappy with those situations.
We're also working with the past budget. Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And actually, I do have a question, it's sort of an add-on to what Kathy was saying, and perhaps I need some clarification on. So it was the carryovers from the other budgets that caused us to be below the cap. Is this correct?
Yes.
Okay. So just for clarification, those carryovers kept us below that cap
Yes.
for this year. Okay. But you did not vote on the budget for the previous year, nor the previous year. But yet, those budgets contain carryovers that were advantageous to your budget. Is that correct? Would that be correct to say?
Yes, because this
Okay.
year alone is.
Just want to clarify that.
10%.
Okay, that it was a budget you didn't vote on, that now you have benefited from because you've used those carryovers, is this correct? To keep this budget, or at least to appear to keep this budget below that cap. Is that correct, Kathy?
Ask the supervisor.
Is that correct?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
To answer your question.
That's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
And that is due, I can tell you that is due to additional costs. The town of Boston had not paid federal or state taxes, to which if you speak to any of the employees with the town of Boston on their social security statements for the 2016 calendar year, it was reported zero up until recently. The reason being is that due to the past administration, those funds weren't there. We received the bill earlier this year. Here, I have no problems with transparency. I can go over all this with any of you that would like to sit down with me. I'd be happy to do so. But those two those two dollar amounts were came up against this budget to make that line item whole. As I stated, that there's the additional insurance increase where the insurance had doubled. So there's a lot of other things outside of the budget that impacted this line item. And then any line item by state law that is in the budget cannot go over. So any line items that go into the red, then it is my responsibility to actually appropriate and do a budget adjustment to take the funds and make that line item at least at zero, so it's not sitting in the red. Again, there's been many expenses. I'd be happy to sit down with anybody that has questions on them, but some of these additional surplus funds, they have been utilized. There's nothing to hide on that. I'm working with a budget that I personally was not comfortable with. The one that, I see some familiar faces here tonight. An example that I used last year, I used it again this year, was that under a PESH audit, we had 2 tractors that were identified that they did not meet safety requirements. In the budget, there was a line item for only $10,000 for 1 tractor. We needed 2. Where did that money come from? That came from the fund balance of the general fund. That money was moved over to pay for that tractor. There's a list of other things that have accumulated in expenses to the municipality that were not properly budgeted, and again, that is why some of these line items have truly gone over. But we have that information that you're all 100% right. This is your tax dollar. We're working with what we have.
Why couldn't those tractors be retrofitted to accommodate the new law?
John Deere, that's a great question. If anybody didn't hear that, the question was, why couldn't those tractors be retrofitted to accommodate the law? John Deere on the, I don't recall the model number of the John Deere tractor, but you could not get the seat belt or the rollover bar for that John Deere tractor. People state from John Deere that supposedly when these tractors were out on state bid, that there was a kind of a known scenario. I don't have any proof on this, but that was a comment that was made to us. But there was a known issue, but you could not get those, even out on
Who
eBay.
was in charge of purchasing those?
The tractors, that would have been town board. The town board approves the purchase.
Who looks into what tractors are to be requested for purchase?
That come from the Parks Department.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
Judy Radis, 5667 Homestead Road. First off, I really have to thank Jay and Shane publicly for doing what they do. It's the only way I've been able to keep abreast of everything, due to not being able to come to the meetings for personal reasons.
Can't hear you.
I'd like to publicly thank Jay and Shane for what they do. I've been unable to come to the meetings due to some personal issues, and I've been able to keep abreast because they're so kind and humble and truly serving their community, getting paid nothing, taking their time to do a website and post the videos. I'd like to thank the board who responded to my email. I also want to correct my own mistake. I will admit when I'm wrong. I was looking at the 2018 salary schedule when I said the town clerk had a 7.9% raise. I realized my mistake after you pointed it out to me, and I apologize for that.
Thank you, Judy.
You're welcome. See, I better get the glasses. I try, but
okay.
I have to always give them to them.
Could you hold on just a moment? I'm going to change the batteries in the recorder. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
I just kind of going to read from my notes here, just as everyone else is speaking. When you know the population in the other towns, if you have the full-time higher salary, I just want to make point of that. Those are people that can support a higher salary. And when you show your PowerPoint, when you look at North Collins and Holland, they have such a low population, they have to be charged a higher tax levy. It's just how it is. Our population is way more than theirs. A few other notes I wanted to ask with everyone else did. So, has 18 Mile Creek been cleared this year? And is that drainage, is that where that gets paid from? Is the drainage fund?
it absolutely could come out of there, or there's multiple different ways of funding that. That would be a board decision how
I
it's
mean, I've
funded.
been coming to these meetings for 8 years
Mhm.
faithfully. They have cleared that creek every year. I've been watching the videos, and I haven't heard you mention, is that creek been cleared this year at all? I haven't seen it put up for a bid to be done or anything.
It is not, Judy.
Okay, so that money could possibly still need to be used for that if that is in the program. I have one other question. The bookkeeper. I noticed on the ledgers, we're paying a paycheck. Why is the bookkeeper not doing the payroll? It always was, I mean,
That was a board
Kathy Selby's
decision last
sitting right
year.
here. She can tell you everything she did as bookkeeper.
Mhm.
And if you're gonna have a full-time bookkeeper, she should be doing as much as Kathy Selby was. I as well am a state employee, so I know the benefits of the state retirement plan at the full-time level and the part-time level. And I as well do not see very good raises. Many times taking 0.01%, 1.52. And that's only just enough to pay the increase in my health insurance. I pay 35% towards my health insurance. I think that needs to be looked at. Jason, I know that you're trying to do your best, but you knew what you were getting into. You were sitting on this board for 2 years. You saw what all the council members did. You saw what Marty did. You saw how much time and energy it took. For the councilwomen and councilmen, for 8 years, I didn't see any of you here. None of you. I never even knew you existed. If you had come to the board meetings, you would have realized how much work the council people did in the last board. Because they spoke of everything they did to a T. They didn't try to hide anything. So as a public servant myself, that's what you do. You don't go into a public service trying to make $1 million at it. You go in it because you care about your community, you care about the public. I have served inmates, and now I serve veterans and I'm proud to do it. And I don't look at it for the money, because I've certainly got nothing major to retire on. I've worked 29 years. You people make more than me and are getting raises more than I am, and making more than me in 5 to 8 years, and I've got 29, and I'm still doing my job. And like I said in my email to you, for 200 years, most of these people have done it from their heart, not for the money, not for the benefits. I wish everyone would feel like that. I, for one, thought of running for a council place. I sat here for 8 years. I knew I couldn't give myself to the town because I wouldn't have had the time, so I didn't run. I may after I retired. The inventory audit. I don't even know what begin to say what about that. But where's the financial audit that was supposed to be done? I haven't seen that happen yet. You said at one of your meetings you were going to have an audit done of the town, and then all this blew up about the inventory. I never saw anything about financial
That was the
audit.
focus.
Oh, in the
Inventory was the
meeting, I
focus.
thought you said a financial audit.
The resolution that was established was for an audit, calling for an audit for the town.
And the other thing, I want clarification on this issue with